Everybody's got a price, it's the $1 million man. Podcast in demand. Understand, everybody's got a price, $1 million man. Everybody's got a price, $1 million man. Everybody's got a pod, it's the $1 million man. Podcast in demand. Understand, everybody's got a price, $1 million man. Everybody's got a price.
What's up, everybody? It's Marcus D'Angelo, and we are back for another episode of Everybody's Got a Pod. And of course, I could never do it without the man himself, WWE Hall of Famer, the $1 million man, Ted DiBiase. What's going on, Ted?
You know what, Marcus? It's another day, another day, another dollar, or should I say another million?
Another million sounds better to me. That's what I'd like, at least.
I wish.
Well,
Okay.
what else I like is what we're up to today, Ted, because we've been telling the story of 30 years ago in the WWF, 1994. Started out, of course, with the Royal Rumble when you first returned. Then we've got WrestleMania. We did SummerSlam, and now it's Survivor Series season. It is November here, and it's 30 years ago that Survivor Series 94 happened. And, brother, to say there was a lot going on in the company at the time would be a huge understatement.
Let's do it.
So, the big news coming out of SummerSlam is the return of King Kong Bundy, who's going to be joining your stable right out of the gate. They've even got him reprising his old 5-count gimmick. Did you know that he actually had a full head of hair, too? He would just shave his head.
I know.
Yeah, so, like, he had, like, a big, thick, full head of hair, but I guess he wanted to, like, look intimidating, so he'd shave off his eyebrows and his hair and get out there to the ring, pal.
Well, good for him.
It's an interesting
I just thought he was naturally bald.
You were, well, like, it worked for him.
Yeah. I mean, he could be, he was funny, though. I mean, there were times when he was really funny. So, anyway.
Well, he was more than 10 years older than he was when Ernie Ladd used to accuse him of being lazy in Mid-South. Stealing money, Bundy.
Yeah, that's right. Bundy. You're stealing money from Mid-South, Bundy.
Everybody's got this great Ernie Ladd impression, and literally all of them use that quote. They say, "You're stealing money."
Yeah.
Ted, how would you compare his Mid-South work to what he was doing in the WWF in 1994? Obviously, a little bit older at this point.
Well, he was older, and yeah, definitely a lot better. He's had some time to grow. So yeah, I would say he was better.
I would think that over the course of your career, like I think a lot of fans will hear that and say, like, well, he's older. He's probably slowed way down. He's not as good as he used to be. It's like, in reality, with wrestling, he's probably a way better performer now that he's had way more reps under his belt, right?
Well, yeah. That's the thing about, it's like, in wrestling, it's not about speeding up. It is about slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but
It does to me now that I'm wrestling, Ted, especially as a heel, because the idea is that the baby face is supposed to shine, and it's kind of like this lightning fast sort of sequence to get him shined up. And then as a heel, you want to bring the audience down by kind of slowing the pace a little bit, right?
Right. Yeah, and all of that is done, and it's done in a way where, the heel keeps cheating, and hiding things from the referee and all of that until, then the baby face, he starts to climb up and you bring him back down, and he starts to, recover again and what have you, and then you bring him back down, and you do it in a way where each time he's getting a little closer. And then finally, you do whatever that spot is where the heel takes a big bump or whatever, and it gives the baby face, time to, to recover. And then the heel turns around, and if he's smart, he's like this. He says, he's on his heels now. He's backing up, asking for mercy. So anyway, that's old school.
That's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
And, Ted, as you're laying that out, of course, I'm reminded that you're considered one of the greatest technicians of all time in all of wrestling, and I think that most people that are listening to this would agree. It does make me wonder, though, Bundy, not what you would call a technician in the ring, but didn't really need to be, I guess. What did you think of what he brought to the table as a performer?
Well, No, is he? Was he a great technician? No. I mean, hey, and I really liked the guy, because he was a funny guy, and some of the things he would say in the dressing room and what have you is like. But the deal with Ernie Ladd, you reminded me of that Bundy. You're stealing money from Mid South, Bundy. Oh well.
Was that
Anyway,
like a shoot? Was he just kind of like a lazy performer at times?
I don't know if that's it. I think Ernie was just giving him a hard time.
Okay. Well, another performer who is considered a great technician is going to make his return to the WWF as well, and that's Davey Boy Smith. Some fans will remember that Bret Hart wrote in his book that Davey was fired alongside the Ultimate Warrior back in 1992 due to Vince catching wind that the two of them had been receiving steroids from a crooked pharmacist in England. That all happened as the steroid trial business was starting to heat up. And now here, it's 1994. Vince has gone over in the trial, as they say, and Davey's welcome back. Ted, Davey has developed a bit of a reputation over the years. I was wondering if you could speak to your experiences around the British Bulldog.
Well, again, I never got, I wasn't ever bosom buddies with him. I didn't make a lot of road trips with him. Saw him in the dressing room, and again, like when we go back to the hotel, either in the restaurant or the bar or something like that. But I never got to know Davey. What I did know of him, I liked. I mean, I thought he was a pretty good hand, or he wouldn't have been in the position he was in.
Ted, I guess really the prevailing rumor surrounding the Bulldog was that a lot of mean-spirited ribs. And some substance abuse issues. Did you ever see any of the mean-spirited ribs or substance abuse?
Well, I never saw the substance abuse, because I don't think he ever would do it just openly in the dressing room. Because if he did, that's kind of stupid. Then everybody's watching him do it.
Yep.
But the ribs, yeah, I mean, he was definitely a ribber. I can't remember any of them right now, but there were some doozies. I think there was one that was done on an airplane.
Oh yeah, a great many probably done on an airplane, like the old shaving somebody's eyebrows, H-bombing somebody, right?
Oh, yeah. So they're sleeping, right? They're on the plane and they're asleep. And then he goes and shaves one of the eyebrows off while they're sleeping. I don't know how you do that, but he did it.
And what's funny, it's not funny, like, it's not nice to do to somebody, but it is funny in that you're forcing the person into a choice, right? Do they have to shave off their other eyebrow, or do they walk around with only one eyebrow?
Well, it was like, I mean, it didn't happen to me, but had it happened to me, I would have shaved off the other eyebrow and let them both grow back at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's I don't know if you ever saw the picture or heard the story, but apparently that happened to Sean Waltman, the 1-2-3 Kid, when he first came to the company. And whoever did it to him decided to do it the day before they were taking pictures for 8x10s, the promo photos.
Yeah.
So there's a infamous promo photo floating around out there of the 1-2-3 Kid with no eyebrows. Just hilarious to do to somebody. Yeah, as far as like the mean-spirited stuff, the one that really sticks out for me is I always remember hearing about, obviously they had their issue, the British Bulldogs had their issue with the Rougeau brothers, which ended with, one of them getting like a fistful of quarters and punching out the Dynamite Kid's teeth. Were you there for that incident? I can't recall.
I wasn't there when that happened, obviously,
Okay.
but it did happen. I know that. But
It's a nasty business behind the scenes. The other one was that they would apparently throw lit cigarettes into Jake's snake bag, which is not a nice thing to do to any animal, and it puts Jake in a bad position. So yeah, I don't know. Some ribs are good, some are just pushing it a little too far.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I totally agree with that. I mean, a rib is a rib, but then it reaches a point where it's not a rib anymore. It's it's just
Impacting the way that people make money and stuff like that. It's not right.
Yeah.
Ted, there's also a major departure at this time as Randy Savage is going to leave the company after 10 years with the WWF. Just so everybody knows, in all the lead up to this, Savage was on TV as a color commentator right next to Vince this whole time. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's leaving. Apparently, Savage had mended fences with Hogan after a big falling out a few years prior, and Hulk helped him to negotiate a deal with WCW. Vince will do something I don't remember him ever doing before previously. He's going to acknowledge the departure on TV and wish Savage well in his future endeavors on their television product. As a matter of fact, Ted, today as we're recording this, November 7th, it's the 30-year anniversary of when Vince went on TV and said farewell, essentially, to the Macho Man.
Yeah.
So Randy Savage leaving the company, really, really big deal. Can't be understated here. Pretty big stuff. Do you consider that would you have considered that a major blow to the company at the time?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, because Randy was so over. So back to when I went to work for Vince the first time, you know, my first WrestleMania was WrestleMania 4, and the last match was me and Savage for the title, and that was the first time that Randy and I had ever been in the ring together. And brother, we tore the house down. We had one hell of a match.
It was great.
And, you know, and the thing that kind of surprised me was that Randy liked to go over the match. I mean, bell to bell.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I mean, knowing that Randy, like me, had grown up in the business, I was surprised. But I was more than willing. I said, yeah, we sure. But I did it like this. I said, Randy, I'll do that. I said, but you have to give me this liberty as we're going along. We're on this game plan, but if something comes to mind that's going to enhance what we're already doing, you have to give me the leeway to call that, and then we come right back to this. And I remember Elizabeth was right there when we were going over it. He looked at her and she said, Randy, you can do that. He says, okay, brother. We can.
Thank God for Liz.
and again, we tore the house down.
You know, Ted, I do want to take a quick sidebar here just because I find this stuff really fascinating. You know, you had mentioned that Savage, he's calm the entire match and wants to go over all of it. How did that sit with you? You know, obviously you're kind of the new kid in town in the WWF, but you were raised in the business, and now all of a sudden it's like, okay, this is the biggest match of my entire life and career, and I'm not going to do it the way that I usually do it. Like, you were okay with it?
The only reason I was okay with it is because, again, I knew that Randy, like me, grew up in the business and had been around it, you know, and I think it was like his, you know, I took it as his safety net.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, we're going to do it like this, you know, and that way, you know, nobody's gonna make me look bad, or you know what I'm saying.
It made him feel more comfortable, which means that he's gonna have a better match.
And I told him, I said, brother, you can trust me. And he said, okay. He looked at Liz and he says, okay, brother, I can do it.
Now, did he have your heat mapped out too?
Huh? Oh no. I mean, no. You know, when I was getting the heat out. No, we didn't map it out to that degree.
Okay, so he just mapped out like his shine and comeback and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then maybe how we started the match, you know, like, yeah, because you know this had been a tournament, right? It was a tournament, you know, and the tournament to declare a new champion, and I had already wrestled twice. Yeah. So
Dino Bravo and Hacksaw.
Yeah. So
Well, so Randy, he's leaving, and rumor has it that Savage was not satisfied being relegated to commentary with Vince and wanted to get back into the ring. Did you ever hear anything about that? That Savage here in 1994, after being on commentary for quite a while, was like, "Hey, I want to keep wrestling," and Vince was not allowing him to.
Well, I wasn't privy to any of that. No, I don't recall any of that. I never had conversation with Randy about it or whatnot. So
So, Dad, there's also a rumor circulating about why Savage never returned to the WWF. Is there any chance that you have any idea where I'm going with this?
I can't recall.
Pretty well known rumor. We'll get your take on it. The rumor was for years, and still kind of exists apparently in some circles, is that Vince caught wind that Savage had had an inappropriate relationship with his young daughter, Stephanie McMahon. And that's something that has been making the rounds for many years. Have you ever heard anything about that by chance?
Now that you just said that, yeah, I did hear that. I have no idea if any of that is true. But I mean, I'll just put it this way: you would have to be a total idiot to go there.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the guy that's changing the face of wrestling, and who's putting you in one of the top guys. So it's like you're never going to be the curtain jerker. You're not going to be on the first match or the second match. You're going to always be somewhere near the top, if not the top. And then you're gonna flirt with his daughter. No.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, and I don't know. It is strange though because 2001 WCW goes away. The Savage had, I think his last match was in 1999 or something like that. But it's like 2001 WCW goes away. These contracts are gone, and all of a sudden, all these WCW people start making the jump over to the WWF. And over the years, I think a lot of fans are like, Savage probably going to end up showing up here sometime. Never happened. He never got brought back. And so I think that just added more fuel to the fire. Like, did Vince find out after the fact that Savage had this inappropriate relationship with Stephanie, and that's why he was never brought back into the fold? Because you look at Randy Savage, the Slim Jim thing, and all the equity in that character, and it's like, you don't bring that guy back up to your TV. I don't know. It was strange.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we're hitting the pause button real quick so I can talk to you about our sponsor, True Classic. Guys, I love True Classic. Man, these clothes are so comfortable. They fit me so well, and I get so many compliments. They've got a lifelong customer in me, and I know that you're going to feel the same way if you give this product a try. You guys remember those days of going through puberty, right? And trying to find clothes that fit you properly. Not too tight in some places, not too loose in other places. Well, I'm coming to find that as I get older, that struggle kind of returns in many ways, especially if you're rocking a bit of a dad bod. Well, True Classic has eliminated the struggle because they've got clothing that fits right. Not too big, not too tight, and clothes that are versatile enough for everything on your agenda this fall. Seriously, if you guys are going to try to find clothes that fit you like this, you're going to end up having to get them personally tailored, and that is unbelievably expensive. Why don't you get the tailored look from True Classic and not spend a whole boatload of money to get there? We are talking about t-shirts, hoodies, jeans, and more in 3, 6, and 9 packs. And hey, fall is here. It's starting to get a little bit brisk outside. They got you covered. How about long sleeve Henleys, waffle hoodies, jeans, button-ups, joggers, and more? And these are all premium products at an affordable price. True Classic knows what you want in clothing. We all want the clothes that are snug around the arms and the chest, really kind of emphasize the way that those look, but give you a lot of space around the middle so you don't feel like everything you're wearing is skin tight. Okay, I got to stand up real quick and show you guys the shirt that I'm wearing. This is for my active wear. I'm actually getting ready to go do a workout right now at the gym. It's moisture wicking, it's quick dry, and it's odor controlled. And look at how great it fits me. Emphasizes my arms and my chest, covers up the middle, and makes me look and feel amazing. Whatever your lifestyle is, you can mix and match your clothing to fit right in. And if by chance you don't like what you've gotten, there's a 100% perfect fit guarantee and easy returns. I have a feeling that you are going to like it though, because this product is trusted by over 4 million customers and has, get this, over 200,000 reviews. It's time, guys. The holidays are here, and True Classics ultra comfortable, perfect fitting essentials make for the perfect gift for you and the men in your life. So, if you're ready to upgrade your closet, shop now and unlock big savings during their huge holiday sale. Just go to my exclusive link at trueclassic.com/EGAP to save. That's trueclassic.com/EGAP. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. End the year with holiday cheer thanks to True Classic. Well, so Ted, one talent in Randy Savage is leaving the company, and he's from that previous generation, of course. But another talent from that same generation is getting a massive push at the same time. Bob Backlund is 45 years old, and he's locking some of the biggest stars in the company in his crossface chicken wing finisher and getting a shot at Bret Hart and his WWF Championship at Survivor Series. Backlund is going to defeat Hart at Survivor Series and become the new WWF Champion briefly. After Owen coerced Helen Hart to throw in the towel for Bret while he was locked in Backlund's chicken wing. So, Ted, Bob Backlund, 45 years old, is now the WWF champion in 1994. What did you think of Mr. Backlund and his work?
You know, Bob Backlund, the person, is a great guy. He's a great guy. And obviously a guy who kept himself in great shape and everything. And I would say work-wise, I think his work was okay,
Mm-hmm.
but I would never put him in like I don't know at the top of the list, like for like who were like the 10 greatest champions of the WWE or whatever. I don't know that I would put him in there as one.
I would agree. And, I do think it's worth noting, too, that at this time, previously, Bob Backlund, who had been champion and worked with the likes of, Bruno Sammartino and all those guys, he's not that guy anymore, that Opie, howdy doody, aw shucks, all-American kid.
Yeah.
Now he's like this completely unhinged, manic heel, if you remember him doing that shtick.
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool. It's, a fresh coat of paint for Bob Backlund. I don't know. I do have to ask though, Ted. It's Bob Backlund is, and people are going to take this as me being negative toward Bob Backlund. I like Bob Backlund and I like his work, but Bob Backlund, when you take a look at that guy, you don't look at that guy and say, "Boy, does that look like somebody you'd see on the WrestleMania poster." That's usually the criteria for somebody who you're going to make your champion. I don't know. It just feels weird, especially even now. He's 45 years old and yes, in good condition. But I don't know. The whole thing just felt bizarre to me. Ted, as a guy who never got to hold the WWF Championship yourself, when you see a guy like Bob Backlund holding it, is it like, hey, what the hell? Or like, how do you feel when you find this out?
I liked Bob as a person, and we got along well. And I just, I couldn't see it. I mean, it's like even when Bob smiles, it's almost like he looks like Howdy Doody.
Yeah, and it almost worked whenever he turned crazy here in 1994 because like that weird kind of creepy smile. But yeah, I don't know. The whole thing just struck me as odd.
Yeah, but it's whatever they want to do. At the end of the day, I mean, again, as a person, yeah, you couldn't meet a better guy, more likable guy. And here's another guy who was in a main event spot who didn't abuse the fact that he was there. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Bob was always on time. Bob was always did what he was asked to do. He was that guy that never got in trouble for anything, and that's all to his credit. And kept that look. I mean, he looked as good at 45 as he did when he was, 22 or 3.
And he's reliable, as you said. He's not going to show up to the building drunk or high,
Yeah,
which is a huge benefit. So it's, I don't know. There's something to be said there.
yeah,
Um, what's strange to me is that this is the new generation era of the WWF, and you've got Bob Backlund winning the WWF title. And again, I like Bob and I enjoy his work, but to me, wouldn't it make more sense to keep Randy Savage, who, by the way, is 3 years younger than Bob? So, like, Vince
yeah.
is saying, Randy, you're too old. You got to just do commentary. I don't want you in the ring. Here's Bob Backlund, who's 3 years older, and bam, he's your WWF champion. I don't know. Wouldn't it make more sense to put Savage in that role instead?
Yeah, unless Vince knew that what he was doing with Bob was short term, and maybe he was just using Bob to transfer his champion from instead of from Randy to somebody else, from put it on Bob and let Bob be the one to transfer it to whoever the new long term champion is going to be.
Ted, you hit the nail on the head, my friend,
Who
because
was it?
that's exactly what happened. So 3 days later, after Survivor Series, 3 days after you put this belt on Bob Backlund on pay-per-view, uh, it's going to be Kevin Nash. Diesel is going to defeat Bob. He doesn't just lose to Nash, though. Kevin Nash beats Bob Backlund in Madison Square Garden in 8 seconds on a house show. So Bob Backlund, this big high-profile pay-per-view win, loses it 3 days later, 8 seconds, house show, Madison Square Garden. Now, the match was filmed, and it would be shown on TV afterwards. But am I crazy for thinking that maybe this whole thing would have meant more if it would have gone like 5 minutes and took place on Raw?
Well, I don't know. Obviously what they did worked. And again, the fact that it's Bob Backlund who had been there, who all the fans in the New York area and wherever the old territory was, they all knew Bob Backlund. They all knew that he had been the champion, and then to do this and then put Diesel over in 8 seconds. That's pretty impressive.
You made a point there that I didn't even consider when I was writing this, and that's that Bob Backlund is a staple in the New York area. So whether it's on TV or not, especially because they were able to film it and show it on TV later, it's a big deal to beat Bob Backlund in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What? You just turned my head around on this thinking. Well done. So Meltzer is going to call this the WWF's latest attempt to create a new Hulk Hogan. And it's pretty clear, they're trying to capitalize. Nash has got incredible size and look. And he'd been getting this babyface reaction despite working as a heel. So I think that Vince saw his size and the reaction he was getting and decided, okay, let's give him the Hogan treatment. The first thing I want to ask you about, Ted, is anti-heroes in wrestling. Diesel is absolutely one. Steve Austin would go on to do it at a much larger scale. It makes me want to ask you, so if you can kind of dig back into your memory banks, who is the first anti-hero that you remember seeing in the business? Does anybody stick out?
Anti-hero? What do you mean?
A heel that gets over with the audience.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing. People like guys who are tough guys. People like a tough guy. So, it's like, I don't care who you are. It's one thing to, be a cheating, you know what I'm saying? Like the heel that's pulling something out of his tights. But when you go out there and you're just a badass tough guy, people like tough guys. It's, and it's kind of like, over a period of time, it's like everybody began to love him. And that's because he was a tough guy.
It's almost like the Terminator, like the second Terminator movie, where he was a heel in the first one, but now like he's still a kind of a heel. Like he's not a great guy, but he's doing
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. He's a tough guy.
That's
People like tough guys. So,
I was trying to think of the first anti-hero I remember seeing in wrestling, and honestly, it probably happened in some territory somewhere along the way, but the first guy I remember is Jake Roberts, where it was like he's coming out here with this snake and he's kind of terrorizing people with it. Even when he's a baby face afterwards, what does he do? When he beats somebody with the DDT, he humiliates them by putting the snake on them afterwards.
yeah,
And so I was like, I think Jake was like the first anti-hero in wrestling, but I don't know. If you can think of somebody else, I'd love to hear about it.
I don't know. He may have been.
Maybe. Well, when Nash gets this spot, do you think it's a desperation move by Vince? Obviously, he's just lost Randy Savage. Hogan's gone. All of this old guard is out the door. And this formula that worked for so well in the 80s, big guy who's fighting off a bunch of big monstrous heels, it worked really well. So do you think that was it that Vince was trying to accomplish here?
I can't be sure, but maybe. It may be, yeah.
This is kind of a weird one, but Kevin Nash has been criticized as not being a great champion. That a lot of people consider his run a failure because of attendance and ratings at the time. But the wrestling business was down as a whole, so I think it's unfair to push the blame on Kevin Nash. Ted, do you have any thoughts on why a guy with Kevin Nash's size and obvious charisma, why do you think he was unable to kickstart the business again with the WWF? Any theories?
I don't have a theory. I mean, I just don't know. And again, there's a lot of things to be taken into consideration. The what was going on. In terms of. You talk about people showing up for wrestling matches and stuff like that. Like, okay, for like right now, I don't know. Our economy in this country it's okay, but it's not great.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you ask yourself the question: so is it affecting? It's kind of like if you're the breadwinner at home and you're not making as much money. You got to pay, you got to pay for food, you got to pay for housing, you got to pay for your car and all that other stuff. So what would be the first thing that you stop spending money on? And that would be entertainment.
Yep.
And so who knows? I don't know, entertainment wise, if I don't know. I don't know what the numbers were. I don't know how good or bad he did.
The numbers weren't awful. They just weren't what they had once been. And I think that anything less than is considered like a failure for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I think it's also worth noting that I think a lot of people had, in people's minds, Hulk Hogan is synonymous with wrestling. The WWF is synonymous with wrestling through Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
And now Hogan's gone and it's like, well, let's pick up the pieces. Oh, by the way, the WWF was just on trial for steroids, so it's like that perception probably didn't help. So there's a lot of extenuating circumstances, to your point, that could impact somebody like Nash. Well, Ted, your $1 million team is going to defeat Luger's Guts and Glory team at Survivor Series, and I think it's safe to say that the bloom is off the rose for Lex in this era, despite the resources that were poured into his Lex Express gimmick and the marketing, etc. Ted, for your money, if you had to pick one or the other, I'm going to give you a choice for your new flag bearer of the WWF. Would you select Diesel or Lex Luger? Gun to your head, you got to pick one or the other to run be your new champion.
Lex Luger.
Lex Luger?
Yeah.
Just based on look?
Based on look and just overall his ability to get over.
Okay.
And again, I have nothing wrong. Yeah, me and Kevin, we get along great. But it was kind of like I think those guys came in. And I think back then Kevin probably looked at me as like old school. It's our time, old man. Your time has passed.
Part of the old guard.
And I was part of that old guard, I guess. That's why I wasn't wrestling anymore.
I think the other obvious issue with Kevin Nash as a babyface champion is that he's so big that it's like, who's going to put him in peril, right? That's why they wound up bringing Sid in, and
Yeah,
they had him feuding with Mabel at one point. Like, it was, they were just trying to put him with all these big guys. So it's like, to me, Kevin Nash is a big natural heel. Let him just be a heel.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I totally agree. And again, Lex is a good friend of mine too. But yeah, but Luger was never a stellar wrestler. I mean, he had a gimmick, and he worked his gimmick, and I give him credit for working his gimmick very well. But if you were ever to ask me, was Lex Luger in the top 10, I would say no.
No, certainly not.
But a good guy. I mean, personally,
Yeah.
good.
And he's reformed his life, which is great. Found God, so it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I see him at a lot of the Comic Cons now that I go to. And I mean, I love the guy now. But I mean, when he first started, I'm sure that again, when a guy like that shows up in the dressing room the first time, it's uncomfortable for him because he's in the dressing room with the guys, and he says, obviously, if you're the new guy in there, then obviously you're there to potentially take somebody's spot. Yes. So everybody's looking at you like, yeah, who are you?
And like, it's probably worse for him than any other guy that comes in the door, because not a lot of guys are walking around looking like Lex Luger with that physique, and he's a good looking guy, and it's like immediately there's probably a target on your back when you come in the door.
Yeah.
Well, Ted, in the main event of Survivor Series, it's The Undertaker. He's going to get his revenge on Yokozuna with a win over him in a casket match. Meltzer says that the biggest pop of the night was for Chuck Norris, who was guarding the aisleway to avoid any interference during the match. Ted, were you a Walker, Texas Ranger fan by any chance?
Kind of, sort of. I mean, it wasn't like I, was setting my clock by when it was on or anything like that. But yeah.
Would you consider yourself a Chuck Norris fan? Like, did you get to spend any time around him at this event that you recall?
I didn't really get to spend any time around him then, but the other thing about him that I grew to really like, he's also a man of faith.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. Strong Christian. So.
And he's no phony tough guy. Like, he's adept in martial arts, and that's, and not a man to piss around with.
Yeah.
Norris is going to get physical at this event. He's going to hit Jeff Jarrett with a super kick at the end of the match, which is a pretty fun spot. Dad, when you were wrestling, hypothetically, would you have any issues selling for a celebrity? Jeff, to his credit, he's a pro, and he gave him a really nice sell on the super kick. But what about you? Would you feel okay selling for a celebrity?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, what's the difference? I mean, the bottom line is it's all entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, Chuck Norris is not really the guy you see on TV. And, I'm obviously, whatever. It's kind of like putting Chuck Norris out there as a wrestler. If you could get him to wrestle, why not? I mean, in my book, it's all entertainment.
I'm with you. I think you've got to put your ego aside and just say, is this going to pop the crowd? It will. So let's just do it.
Yeah.
Well, you popped me in this episode, Ted. This was a fun one. It was really good getting to chat with you, looking back 30 years again to 1994. When we pick it up again, it's going to be 1995 at the Royal Rumble is where we'll continue this story next time. So as always, man, really fun. It's a blast getting to pick your brain and hear your perspective on this stuff. Brother, it's, you and I have been doing this podcast. This is our 79th episode that we've done together.
Really?
And yeah. Now, obviously, on some of them, you had to miss, and we had to do like a best of. But this is episode 79, and what I really love about doing this with you is you had such a nice long career, and so much stuff happened. Like, I feel like we're touching the tip of the iceberg here on the show. I'm really looking forward to continuing to discuss everything you've done in the business.
Yeah, man, and I got some things in the mail, by the way.
Did you? What'd you get?
Yeah, I got. Oh my gosh, I got a couple of shirts and sweatpants and knee pads, and
Wait a minute, knee pads? Are you
I
stepping
was
into
like,
the ring?
I said, I asked Melanie. I said, "Did you go shopping?" She goes, "No, it came in the mail." And I said, "What? Where did it come from?" And then I remembered. I said, "Oh, uh, our sponsor."
True Classic. They sent me some stuff in the mail too, and brother, I've been wearing that stuff all over the place. The shirts, they feel like they're tailor made, like made literally for a tailor for my body, but they're
Yeah,
not. They just you pick the size and it just
yeah,
the
yeah. I'm a double XL, and yeah, they all work. They're all good.
At the wrestling show I was at recently, I was wearing one of my True Classic shirts, and I can't tell you how many people came up to me and were like, "What a cool looking shirt!" So folks, go and check it out, trueclassic.com. Make sure you use our promo code EGAP. But yeah, Ted, always a pleasure to get to chat with you here on the show.
My pleasure, buddy, and I look forward till the next time. And until the next time, must I remind everybody? But here it is. Everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
Catch you guys next time right here on Everybody's Got a Pod.